consent. Guys, this is just for your consent that I have started recording of this session. If you have any question in the meanwhile, then you can definitely ask. We are going to begin with EC2 today. So guys, I would like to ask, what is EC2? Anyone who can answer this?
Elastic Compute Cloud. Sorry.
Okay.
It's our
provide computing capacity.
Okay. Fine. So guys, we are going to begin with EC2 today, and today we are going to have a deep dive session on EC2 up to pro level. Okay, so first of all, we are going to create one EC2 machine. EC2 machine is sort of a particular virtual machine. So a person may call the EC2 machine with different name, maybe a virtual machine, maybe an instance, maybe a machine, or sort of. So we are going to create, and guys, keep this thing in mind whenever we are working with EC2. There are two things which are supposed to be which we should know. First, this is the dashboard of AWS. This is the console home. Now, what does it mean like console home? Why do we call it? First of all, if you are anywhere within your AWS account, if you click here, then this will take you to the particular main home screen of AWS. This is known as console home. If you hover your mouse on the top of this particular icon, AWS, and it will show this is console home, right? Then after, if you want to know that what all services does AWS provide, then we are going to have this particular option available here. So this will tell you like about different segment of AWS compute provider, or maybe different type of services which AWS provide. These are available here, like analytics, application integration, AR, VR, AWS cost management, blockchain, business application, compute, containers, and there's a long list, right guys? So you can figure out here, let us say if you need to search anything specific here, for example, you need to search for Route 53. So you will type in here, obviously, like as most of application provides a particular feature for search. So this is going to be the same. You can search anything here. Then after, this is a particular component known as Cloud Shell. Now, what does it mean, Cloud Shell? For example, if you want that your AWS account should be managed with the help of some command line interface, like CLI, you can call that command line interface. For example, you need to create one EC2 machine, you need to automate something, then definitely guys, you can click here, and this is known as Cloud Shell. So you will be able to manage your cloud infrastructure with the help of command line tool. Clear guys? Are we clear with Cloud Shell that why do we use it?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now this is known as notification section. So let us say if AWS has some ongoing issues, then AWS will notify you all the issues which are related to your account or which are in general, which AWS is facing right now, then you will be able to notify with the help of this particular icon. Right, guys? Now, if you talk about this particular, what is this? For example, if you want to like jump to support center, maybe like you want to look for any expert help. For example, you have already posted something, you would like to repost on that. You would like to explore the particular documentation of AWS about training, or maybe you would like to getting a started resource center. So these sort of options are available under this particular section. Now, very important thing which I would like to tell you today here is that is region and availability zone. So guys, is there anyone who can tell me like what is difference between region and availability zone? What is the region and what is availability zone? Yes, guys, what is region and what is availability zone?
Available zones are the subzones of regions.
Your voice was not audible. Can you please come again?
Actually, the region is a place where a particular place where multiple availability zone is there.
Okay. And what is availability zone?
Availability zone is a place where multiple data center is there.
Okay, good. So we need to understand this particular thing. Let us say, if we talk about this is AWS infrastructure completely, like we can type in here AWS. Now we are talking about region. Let us say this is a particular region here. And if we talk about this region is Mumbai, right? So under Mumbai region, this is region. We can type in here region. This is Mumbai region. Now inside Mumbai region, it could be possible we might have different data center. This is data center 1, right? And let us say this is in Gurgaon, or maybe in Delhi. Second data center could be here. That is in maybe Bangalore. Maybe third data center could be in some different location, right? Like Hyderabad. So what do I mean to say here is why I'm telling you all these things. So a particular geographical region where multiple data centers could be available. So these data centers are known as availability zone. Rather than you can call it DC or you can call that AZ, like availability zone. Wherever a data center is available, and the person was saying something that where multiple data centers are available, that is known as availability zone. It is not like that. So one data center is equal to one availability zone in terms of AWS. Right, guys? One data center is equal to one availability zone. Are we clear with that? Like, what is the difference between region and availability zone? So one geographical area where multiple data centers are available. So that particular geographical area is known as region, and the particular individual data centers are known as availability zone. Right, guys?
So in simple term, data centers are like availability zones where the data centers are located. I mean, region is basically physical location, geographical location.
Geographical area is known as region, and multiple data centers which are available within the geographical region are known as availability zone. Are we clear with that?
So there could be one more interview question that how many availability zone and how many physical regions are there, and AWS keep adding it on again and again.
Right. So there is no certain answer for this. If you talk about Mumbai, so we have 3 availability zone today. If we talk about, let us say, if we go here on this particular environment, like if we go to, let us say, Mumbai, we have 3 availability zone. If you talk about North Virginia, we have 6 availability zone. If you talk about your Frankfurt, we have 4 availability zone. 3 availability zones are available in London, Ireland, right? So that number is not that number is not fixed. That this is going to be 2 or maximum are going to be 4. No, that is not the fixed number. Based on the particular availability of resources and based on the demand, AWS may keep on adding number of availability zone in a single region. So as I told you, like North Virginia has 6 data centers, wherein Mumbai has only 3. Initially, when Mumbai region was launched, so over there was only 2 data centers. Or in other words, you can call that Mumbai used to have only 2 availability zones, but right now Mumbai has 3. Clear, guys? Like what is region and what is availability zone?
Yes.
Yes. Then after, guys, we have some other option available here. Like if you want to know about your account ID, your organization, service quota, billing dashboard, security credential, and maybe you would like to change some of your information which you have already provided to AWS. Then definitely, guys, you are allowed under this particular settings option. Clear, guys?
Yeah, sir, I have one question. जहाँ पे एक ऑप्शन है न्यू EC2 एक्सपीरियंस का लेफ्ट साइड पे जिसका ये हाँ इसको सर क्लिक करते साथ ही इसको अगर हम ऑन कर देते हैं ऑप्शन सारे चेंज हो जाते हैं इंटरफेस चेंज हो जाता है
So that is why like this option is available.
मतलब डिफरेंस क्या है सर इसमें मतलब इसको अनचेक
Nothing,
और चेक करने
only new dashboard is available, only new interface is made available to users.
ओके ऑलराइट थैंक यू सर
Nothing else, just like GUI is changed. Okay, so let us move with new one only. So first of all, what we are going to do, we are going to create one EC2 machine. And gradually, like AWS is trying to enforce this, that people should be familiar with new type of interface only, right? But right now, what is happening? Like AWS has yet not enforced it, trying to make it very comfortable, transition from old to new interface. But yes, that is still not forced, right? Okay, so first of all, we are going to launch one EC2 machine. So there are multiple ways. Either we can click here, we can click here, or like different ways are here to launch the EC2 machine. We are going to launch it. So guys, we discussed earlier as well that before creating one EC2 machine, what we need to do here is we need to select an AMI, and AMI stands for Amazon Machine Image. And one AMI is a particular template that contains the software configuration. And whatever software configuration does it contain? So it contains operating system, application server, and other applications, which are required to launch your instance, right? Now, when you are selecting your AMI, you need to keep couple of things in mind. First of all, like what is the particular flavor of that operating system you're going to use? Like it is going to be Amazon Linux, it is going to be Mac OS, or it is going to be Red Hat, SUSE, Ubuntu, maybe Microsoft Windows, like that way. Maybe Debian you can launch here. So we need to keep this thing in our mind that what type of operating system we are going to work with, right, guys? So once that is particular finalized, after
sir
that,
I have one question
please go ahead.
so like here I have the authority to choose any AMI in a live environment in offices in corporate we have such kind of a tickets when like what kind of a tickets we have in which we need to choose the AMI according to a AWS engineer so
Okay.
we have yeah I
Like,
hope you got my question
yeah, yes, definitely. I got your question. So what happens in real production environment is we do not choose all the time. Like these AMIs, we do not choose from here. So there is a particular option known as My AMIs. So why this option is made available here, My AMIs? Let us say today I created this particular machine which I'm going to create. Now there are a couple of softwares which are required in order to meet compliance requirement, in order to like have the particular system ready that every time we are not installing Apache, MySQL, PHP, Java, or Node, React, or these sort of software. Because why do we create a machine? Because after machine creation, after EC2 machine creation, what do we do here is we have to install a couple of softwares. So this is not required that every time we create machine and we start creating, like we start installing multiple softwares, we start creating multiple users on it. We may be like, it may be required to integrate that particular machine with LDAP or maybe with AD, right? Then after it could be possible if LDAP, or maybe, which is known as lightweight directory access protocol. So like if that is not the case, then maybe AD Active Directory should be in sync. If that is not the case, we may need to create multiple users. Let us say we have couple of users from DevOps team, couple of users from TechOps team, maybe a few testers or maybe a few developers which are required to have access onto that particular machine. So every time we are going to create that EC2 machine, it is not like we are going to create or we are going to perform each and every sort of activity every time, right? It may be required. Let us say once I create this particular machine, let us say I'm going to select this Red Hat one, right? So it is not the particular right way to perform user creation, their key placement, and other activities every single time when new machine is getting created. So what do we do here is we create a particular machine in such a way, we will perform this practical today for sure, that once a machine is created, we will prepare that machine in such a way that whenever new machine requirements are about to come, so in that case, rather than going with quick start section, like we will go to My AMI, and the AMI like machine image, which we have already created all the things like user creation, software installation, maybe security hardening, everything is already done, right? So in that particular case, we will select My AMIs from this particular section in order to create a new EC2 machine. in real production environment, we are never supposed to create machines from this particular open marketplace. Are we clear with that? Like, how do we work with real-time environment?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So now there are two type of images available. First of all is like 64-bit x86 and second one 64-bit ARM. So guys, ARM is a different type of CPU architecture. x86 belongs to Intel or maybe AMD, but ARM is a type of Graviton processor which is in-house developed by Amazon itself. All the resources, whatever you are going to create with like x86 ARM type of hardware, then it is going to be cheaper, but end of the day, the particular amount of software, the particular number of softwares are really less as of today. You may be able to install, you may be able to get the particular software on internet, but the particular availability of software architecture, because if whenever you download any software, there are like 32-bit, 64-bit, in 64-bit, I like even no architecture softwares are available. So whenever we talk about real world in corporate environment, so guys, we are always supposed to select this one. But yes, maybe if you are working with development environment or maybe something like that, so you can select this one as well, because over here you are going to get less compute power. Like CPU clock rate is going to be little less. Right, guys? So far I have worked only with these machines, x86 64 or like x86 instead of ARM. But yes, it could be a use case that you may want to explore like cheaper resources in AWS. Then definitely, guys, you can begin with this particular one, x60 like 64-bit ARM. So I'm going to begin with this. And guys, one more interview question is there. Usually people like to ask that at the time of machine creation, like by mistake, I have selected x86 like 64-bit ARM. 64-bit ARM. Now I want to convert that machine template to 64-bit x86. Is it practically possible? Did you get my question?
Yeah, you're talking about changing of hardware once you have chosen it.
Yes, once I have selected the AMI, will I be allowed to will I be allowed to change my instance hardware type like from ARM to x86?
I don't think so.
Anyone?
No, I think
No.
And why it is so?
Hardware configuration is like chosen once cannot be changed again. Otherwise,
Okay, not a problem.
it's a
I
something.
I guess because the architecture are different, and let's suppose if you have already installed ARM and you have installed few of the software with the different architecture, they might not be compatible with x86.
Yes, definitely you are right. If we have selected either type of AMI in order to provision a machine, after that we configure it based on our requirement, and after that, if we try to change instance type, that will not be practically possible. So we have to be very, very careful while selecting this AMI and the architecture type. That's why we are spending that much time here, right? Okay, let me select this one. Let me select this one over here, right? x86 64-bit. Okay, so now what next? Now what we are going to do here? We already discussed that we have different type of instances here, like we have T2, T3, T3A, T4, G. So wherever you find this G mentioned, T4G, if you see here, C6GN, C6GD, C6G. So wherever you find a particular G character mentioned here, G alphabet mentioned here, which means we are talking about like ARM hardware template. We are talking about ARM hardware template. So if we select, let us say we go back onto previous page and then we select ARM type of hardware, then definitely guys, all the selections which will be made available to us, those will be related to like this particular G series. Maybe over here, if you see here, like M6G, M6GD, that like that way, right? Maybe R6G, R6GB. So wherever this G is mentioned, it means we are talking about this type of AMIs. Right, guys? We are talking only about these type of images. For example, if I change this to this one, if I go ahead, I will have to select yes. I'll move on. Now guys, you will get to know the particular number of instances everywhere, whatever instance is made available to you for selection. Then guys, this will definitely contain a particular G character here, wherever you go. And see, where G is not available, so you are not able to highlight it, because what does it say? Like the architecture ARM 64 of the selected AMI is not supported by this instance type. I hope the particular message is quite clear.
Yes.
Okay, so let us move ahead and we will go by this. I'll select to x86 64-bit. Now, if you see guys, if I select here, if I want to select here like T4G, or like something like different type of architectures are available here, like 2x large, 4x large, and something. So guys, I will not be allowed to select T4G type of instances here. Why it is so? Because the hardware architecture does not allow, or you can call that image architecture does not allow to be executed on G series. We will move ahead. Now guys, for sure, what we are going to do here is, and guys, I have a request to make, please mute yourself if you're not speaking, because some unwanted background noise keeps on coming from your side. So I have to manually mute you guys after utilizing my veto power, right? Okay, so number of instances. So guys, usually, although that should not be a question like any which way, but usually what do people ask is, can you tell me like how many instances can we launch at a time? How many instances can be launched? Okay, let us say if I define here 2000, will I be able to launch 2000 instances here? Yes, guys, will I be able to launch 20,000 instance, 2000 instance here? Anyone?
No.
Then what is the number which I can launch? Maybe 200?
20.
Yes, he's correct. No, minimum number of instances is 20. Yeah.
Not minimum. We should not call that minimum. Maximum number of instance on a free tier account can be created are up to 20 by default. But yes, if it is required to create more than 20, then definitely guys, what we can do here is, like we can raise a particular, as you see here, like there was a particular like support center. We will raise a particular ticket, which will be related to our quota extension. We will raise the ticket to AWS. AWS team will definitely increase the limit here. Right? Okay, so then after purchasing option, guys, we discussed in really detail, like we have 4 different options here. Yes, Vishal.
So I just wanted to understand, I mean, what is the difference between 20 instance versus 200 instance? I mean, how does it make a difference?
Okay, so let us say when you are launching 20 instance here, and as I mentioned, if you are working with a free tier account, so AWS really does not want you to spend a lot of money on your free tier account. That is why AWS keeps a particular default quota for free tier accounts. Once you upgrade your account, or maybe let us say enter free tier account only, you are willing to pay extra and you are very well aware of it. You have created that account for your organization purpose. So you will have to raise a ticket to AWS team that yes, my requirement is increasing. So please allow me to create some different type of instances, whatever you want. So in order to increase quota, AWS does not charge you anything. But yes, you should be aware of it that all the different type of instances which are apart from T2.micro, which are apart from T2.micro will be chargeable. If you are willing to pay, if you are going to use those instances purposefully, then definitely AWS will not charge you anything in order to increase the quota of your account to launch different type of instances.
Okay.
So default limit is capped here 20, but obviously once you start creating it, so based on the trends and based on your utilization, definitely AWS may keep on increasing this quota. But first of all, let us say if you have created your account today itself, and even today itself, you feel that you need to launch maybe 200 instances. So that is not by default allowed. In order to do so, you will raise a particular quota increase limit to AWS team. And once that team verifies and validates that, only after that, guys, you will be allowed to create 200 instances. That is just to ensure that some unwanted charges may not occur in such a like practitioner account. The person is just trying to create instances, not purposefully, but yes, just for testing purpose, just for fun, or maybe just for learning purpose or whatsoever. But the instances are not actually going to be utilized for some like real production environment. So that is why AWS has kept some sort of restriction here. That is not hard and fast. Like that cannot be removed. Yes, that can be one time.
Yeah. Yeah. So understood. So one aspect is the quota limitation. And the follow-up question on the instances, I mean, in what circumstances we might require 200 instances as we can set up the, I mean, and as we can configure with the 20.
Okay. So,
Like Apache server configuration, मान लो हमें 200 सिस्टम में Apache server इंस्टॉल करना है, उस केस में हमें 200 इंस्टेंसेस चाहिए होती हैं.
no,
Am I-
no,
सर ऐसे ऐसे इंटरव्यू क्वेश्चंस पूछे जा रहे हैं सर मुझसे कि तुम्हें एज एन इंजीनियर तुम्हें 200 सिस्टम पे अपाचे सर्वर इंस्टॉल करना है, तुम AWS यूज करोगी, Ansible यूज करोगी या तुम Terraform यूज करोगी.
Okay, let me tell you what will you do.
So it's my assumption.
Okay, I got your point. I got your point. So what should be the ideal answer here? That I will install Apache only on one server, and if we are working on AWS environment, then I will create AMI of it, and then after I will supply that AMI under some auto scaling group, and that will keep on managing it. Second thing, if the infrastructure is working on like on-prem data center, let us say that is not the case of AWS, then what you are going to do, what you are going to use, you are going to use Ansible there, because Terraform and CloudFormation are basically not used for installing software inside a machine, but these are usually used in order to provision the infrastructure. Clear with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So like number of instances, now we have purchasing options. So guys, is there anyone who would like to throw some light on this? Like what are the purchasing options available here?
Yeah, we have on-spot, reserve instances, on-demand. T2 is the one which is free instance. Like when it comes to costs, then we always use T2. So there are total 5, but I named them.
And what all 5 are there?
Reserved, on-spot, on-demand, and there's one more I'm not reminding.
Saving
One
plan.
or two.
Okay, so let me come on to that as well, because guys, today we are going to complete. Yes, Vishal.
I'm sorry, I'm putting so many questions.
No,
even though I'm
definitely, that will help others as well.
yeah. So I'm still wanted to understand. I mean, how what all are the circumstances where we might require 200 instances?
Okay, so what all in circumstances could be here? For example, that you are working, let us say some applications are running in your organization, and you or maybe your sales team has launched some sort of campaign. Now you guys are expecting really huge traffic. Maybe you can call that humongous amount of traffic you are expecting on your infrastructure to be coming in. So in order to handle that amount of traffic, what will you do here is you will need to increase your particular hardware size. Right, guys? So in order, either you can increase the hardware template size. For example, earlier you were using 4 CPU and 8 GB of RAM. Right now, what you can do here is, rather than increasing a lot of instance of numbers, what you can do here is you will start running the instances with 32 CPU and 64 GB of RAM. That is the first scenario. Second scenario here is, if you really want to like rely on auto scaling, and that will be in such a particular manner that you want to add number of instances more and more, because the particular application which you are using, or maybe like you are using any Java application, maybe Go or maybe React Node sort of application you are running on the EC2 machines. What if those applications are not that much optimized that the even application JVM machine, like JVM is Java based virtual machine, those machines cannot consume more than 2 GB of RAM. Hypothetical example I'm giving. Right? Let us say the particular JVM will not support more than 4 GB of RAM. Then what will be done here is, rather than increasing the hardware instance size, like rather than improving from 2 to 4 CPU, or maybe 4 to 16 CPU from 16 32 CPU, what is required here is, rather than increasing amount of hardware on the same EC2 machine, we need to add more and more instances in order to serve the traffic. So these are the use cases where we may require more than 200 instances to be running within our AWS account. And if you see any normal organization, where maybe 2 or maybe 5,000 users are coming in parallel. So at least 200, 300 instances are required there, because we do not run only Apache software. We do not run only front end, like we run front end, back end, caching, maybe like different type of like Elasticsearch for log status monitoring, right? Maybe for Ansible, maybe Jenkins we use for deployment. So different type of services are installed on this server. That is why the number of server count keeps on increasing day by day. So
Understood. Yeah.
like it is not the use case that we may require to launch 200 server right now, right away. But let us say 10 instance we have created for front end application. Let us say 40 instance we have to create for maybe middle layer application, 10 instances for databases, maybe 2 instance for Jenkins, maybe 2 instance for Ansible, maybe 2 instance for Redis, 5 instance cluster we need to create for Elasticsearch, Logstash and Kibana, right? Maybe 2 server we may require for monitoring, where we need to install Prometheus with Grafana, or like that way.
Yeah, sure. Understood.
So,
Yeah.
so number of servers may increase gradually.
Okay.
Okay. So guys, when we are talking purchasing option, so there are 4 purchasing options basically which we have. So the very first purchasing option here is, which is known as on demand. That is the particular basic fund of cloud computing. Guys, we need to keep in mind the very first option here is, which is known as on demand. The very first type of instances are known as on-demand instances. Second type of is known as spot. Third one is known as reserved, which are known as RIs, in other words. Reserve instance, and the fourth one here is savings plan, SP. Now guys, what are on-demand instances? What are spot, reserve instance, and savings plan? Why do we have these 4? Because see, initially AWS used to charge per hour. Let us say if you created an EC2 machine, let us say whatever we are going to create here. So if you created this machine once, then AWS used to charge you for 1 clock hour. So 60 minutes. Below 60 minutes, there was no billing cycle. But right now AWS charges based on minutes. That's the particular use case here. Now, if you create machine, you use it for maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe for 40 minutes. So based on number of minutes you are going to utilize your EC2 machine, AWS will charge you per minute basis. For example, if the charge of any machine or you can call that any EC2 machine is maybe $1 per hour, you use that particular machine for 30 minutes, then you will have to pay only $0.5, because you use that machine for 30 minutes only. So you will be charged based on the particular amount of time you are running that instance. That is known as on demand. There is no commitment with AWS. Let us say you want to test something in your environment, maybe updated software, or let us say there is a requirement that you guys need to update some database. So how will that work? What are the steps going to be involved in order to upgrade your database? Definitely, guys, you can actually not upgrade your database on the real environment. So what you need to do here is, you need to replicate a particular environment. For example, you need to create a replica of existing server where your database is running. You will create one image out of it. Then after, you will create new server out of it. Then on that server, you will try to upgrade it. While upgrading, you will make notes out of it. Okay, let us say that what is the very first step, that you need to take backup of it. You need to create backup. What are the particular tables? Moreover, you will need to ensure that you need to calculate the particular time, like how much time this machine is taking while taking backup. For example, after upgrade, you need to restore that particular backup into the database. So how much time is your backup and restoration process taking? Why it is so? Because at the time of upgrade of real server, real-time environment, what would happen here? You may need to declare a downtime of that application wherever you are going to perform that activity, right? So in order to measure the time, in order to ensure that what are the steps involved, so you will need a separate server. So why would you make commitment to AWS in order to run a server maybe for 10 hours, maybe for 8 hours? There is no commitment, and the charges of those servers are a little higher in comparison to RI and savings plan. But yes, there is no commitment involved. You can go, you can log into your AWS account, you can create EC2 machine, you can consume that maybe for a day or 2 or maybe for years in continuation. But yes, the prices will be a little higher. That type of scheme is known as on demand. In other words, if you have to take some other examples, you can think of, let us say you need to go to your office. You booked one Ola or maybe Uber or maybe Meru cab. You sat inside it. The driver came, picked and dropped you at your office doorstep and went away. You have nothing to do with that. Whether the particular car, the driver is owner of that car, is that on loan, is that completely purchased it at once. You have nothing to do with that. What you need to do here is you are going to hire that cab from your doorstep to office. That is it. Use and pay. So that model is known as pay as you go. For example, you need to travel 10 kilometers, pay only for 10. Now there is a different situation. You need to travel for 50 kilometers or maybe for 100. You will have to pay for 100 kilometers. So that is known as on demand. If we have to give a real world example here, in that particular situation, we can say, for example, if you are going to use one EC2 machine for 1 hour, you will be paying only for 1 hour. If you are going to use for 1 month, then definitely for that amount of period, right? Like that way. So that is known as on demand. And guys, this was the basic model of cloud computing when cloud computing was introduced. So this one was the basic methodology in order to purchase and in order to utilize these resources. That was known as on demand. Now, what is spot, guys? Is there anyone who can help me with this? What is spot instance? Anyone? Adam?
T2, sir.
What is spot instance?
Spot instances.
Sir, I think it's currently you are running on 5 servers, and in between your traffic is increased, and you want to extend it to 5 to 6, 7, or 10. That instances might be called as a spot instances, right?
Okay, so same thing I can do with on demand as well. Like currently, I may need to have 5 instances.
So
After 2 hours, I need 10 instances. I can ask AWS to launch 10 more on-demand instances. Then how is that different from on-demand? And how is that different from spot instances?
Should I tell you?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, actually, spot instances is basically it charges on hourly basis, and it is totally different from the on-demand instances. So in on-demand, we have a high charges, and the spot instances is this, whenever you have a need to for some of the application and workload, and which require fast network, quick storage, and massive amount of memory. In that case, you can go with this spot instances, and spot instances is basically can be terminated with 2 minutes of the notifications. So there will be a less charges if you compare to on-demand instances. So this is what I understood.
Well, Ashwini, I would agree and disagree. Both situations
So
are
basically, spot instances is going to enable you to request unused EC2 instances in a steep discounts.
okay. So guys, let me tell you some example of real world, like how does that work? Right. First of all, let me tell you this thing, that whenever we are talking about spot instances, so guys, these are just purchasing options. Guys, please mute yourself if you are not speaking.
I want to add something. Go with the spot.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. There was a network glitch, so I dropped off the call. Okay, not a problem. Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Great. Okay. Yes, Ayush, you were saying something.
So being an AWS engineer, what I do believe is if I have an option to choose an instance in between on-demand and spot instance, and if cost is a factor, then I will go with the spot instance because it is 90% cheaper than on-demand. So in comparison context, I will go with the spot instance like it's the instance which is more cost effective, economical, I would say, cheaper, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, great. Good to know that. But there is a particular situation. Let us say that you are running your application. Let us say your Apache server is running. Right. Now you are running, let us say, 8 instances here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now you are running this particular instances here. Now, guys, what is going to happen in that particular case? What will be the requirement here? For example, you are running all 8 export instances here, and AWS suddenly terminated all, because there is no guarantee that your EC2 machine will be running maybe for an hour or 2 or so. Then how will you manage that situation? This is real-time use case, guys. This is real-time use case. How will you handle this situation? If you are using a spot instance here and AWS takes it back, how are you going to manage your application?
Basically, it is not recommended for production or any kind of this kind of environment. If you are going to, if you have a scenario like to test something, so in that case, you can go with this spot instances, which is comparatively to on demand is less, like it will be a less price, and which will charge you hourly basis. So this is what I can say as a.
Yes, you are right. So let me add something other which is actually required in order to perform in production world. So guys, what happens here is we are not going to utilize either only AWS like on demand, or let us say the particular colored one are on demand.
Sir, we will attach another EBS column.
No, EBS is not the use case here, guys. Keep this thing in mind. So let us say the particular instances which are in green, these are spot instances. And the particular instances in this, like another color, these are spot. Right? Let us say these are spot and these are on demand. So now, guys, what is going to happen? So neither we are going to use only spot instances, or neither we are going to use only spot on demand. So we are going to use a combination of both. So let us say we can define here that 70% instances are going to be like, okay, let us increase the number of spot instances. So what I'm going to do, like out of 8 instances, 5 I will keep as a spot because these are cheaper. And I would like to ensure the continuity of my application. Right, guys? So what is going to happen here? I am going to have a combination of both. But I would like to have more and more spot instances in comparison to on demand, because over here, these 3 instances will never go back from my account because these are on demand. These instances may go away and come back because these are spot instances. So with the help of these 3 instances, I'm going to ensure high availability of my application. And with the help of these 5 instances, I'm going to save my cost. So in a real environment, real production environment, guys, it is not like we cannot use spot instance in production. We definitely use spot instance in production. And why it is so? Because, guys, if we are talking about that we use spot instance only in development. So guys, the infrastructure size of development environment is really small. Like we have very less number of instances running in our development environment. Getting point, guys? So let us say if we are running only 2 instances in development environment, and we are going to use one spot, one on demand, then how we are going to save cost? So guys, actual cost saving happens in production environment because over there, it may be required to run 20 instances under same auto scaling group. So a combination of on demand and spot is the best fit in order to have high availability, more and more compute power. And one more thing I would like to add here, guys. Someone was saying that we may add different type of EBS volume. or we may add some different components here. So EBS volume and the particular capacity of instances are not different. Let us say if I launch one machine based on demand and one machine as a pod instance, so there is going to be not even a single % difference in performance. Performance is going to remain same. There is only one thing which is different, and that particular difference here is that we need to have different type of purchasing model. Spot is cheaper, on demand is the highest. Right now, what is are we clear with on demand and spot, guys?
Yes.
Okay, so next is here, which is known as RI, like reserve instance. So guys, what is reserve instance here? Anyone who can help me with that?
Reserve instance is basically whenever you have a requirement to like you are going to do a commitment, like you are going to use this particular instance for 1 year or 3 years. So basis on that you can purchase. And though like if you are going to terminate that instance, like you have purchased for 1 year, but you are not going to use for 1 year, you have terminated for within 6 months only, then also you have to pay for a whole amount of the time period which you have purchased.
Yes, you are right. And like there is a particular agreement for 1 year or for 3 years. And even within that particular agreement as well, there are some different purchasing model. Maybe you can pay like partial payment, partial upfront, all upfront, no upfront. So the particular method which you are going to select in order to pay amount to AWS will provide you more and more discount on that. Right. Now the next one here is savings plan. So what is difference between savings plan and reserve instance? Guys, who will tell that? Guys, anyone who can help me with reserve instance in savings plan difference? At least you guys can give it a try. Ayushi, the difference between savings plan and reserve instance, and yeah.
So अभी saving थोड़ा सा बताया, I think वो enough नहीं होगा justify करने के लिए. Reserve instances like नहीं सर याद नहीं है मुझे भी. Sorry.
It means you are not studying properly.
Yeah, I admit. On spot और demand भी अच्छे से याद है, दोनों अच्छे से याद नहीं है.
Okay, not a problem. Let me tell you.
I think I have read somewhere earlier. So this reserved instances, suppose you have launched in one particular region. So you can use that reserved instance in that particular region only. But saving plans, if you have launched, so you can, I think you can switch the regions. Like if you have launched in one region, and then after you can switch to another region as well. Like you can change.
Okay. So let me tell you that thing, guys. Okay. Yeah, please go ahead, please.
Reserve instances, you can like we book the tickets like bus. You can book the for 1 year, and in saving plan you try to do a cost cutting by purchasing the saving plan for 1 year or 3 year in AWS.
Okay, so in that case, let me tell you this thing. So even if you go with savings plan or if you go with the reserve instance, so at least for 1 year or 3 year commitments are there. Okay, not to worry.
Okay.
For example, let me tell you that like what is the basic difference, or you can call that what is measure as well. Let us say you need to create one machine. Machine type here is C5.4x large. Right? You have decided to create this type of machine. Let us say the cost of this machine is $2 per hour. Right? The charges of this machine is $2 per hour. Now, in order to book or in order to purchase a particular EC2 machine under RI scheme, reserve instance scheme, so what you need to decide here is, first of all, the particular region. After that region, you will have to select the particular availability zone. Let us say it is going to be like 1A, 1B, 1C, like that way. Then after, you will have to select the particular operating system as well. Once you have selected, like region is Mumbai, availability zone is 1A, and OS is going to be RHEL. Right? After a couple of months, maybe after 20 days or maybe after 2 months, you realize that operating system you need to change. Let us say OS was Red Hat earlier, now you need to switch to Ubuntu. It is not possible. Moreover, the availability zone which you selected, so you are facing some sort of lag in network, or there is some sort of latency in network. So in that case, guys, what is going to happen? You will not be allowed to modify the availability zone itself. Moreover, even the region, let us say initially you thought of that you will be setting up your infrastructure in Mumbai region, and later on you thought of to change it to, let us say, Singapore or maybe North Virginia, will not be allowed. So whatever you have selected at first point in time, that thing will remain same. You cannot modify anything here. In case of, this is like, guys, this is example of RI. Now, in case of SP, like savings plan, what does happen here is, let us say you did not, let us say that you are going to create same instance once again. But in this case, in case of savings plan, you are not going to make a commitment for any individual instances. Instead, what you are going to do here is you are going to make a commitment based on the particular charges that you will be paying, let us say $10 per hour. Like you have made a commitment that you will be utilizing compute power of $10 per hour in your AWS account, irrespective of region, irrespective of availability zone, irrespective of operating system. Guys, keep this thing in mind. All on-demand instances will be covered under savings plan first. All on-demand instances will be covered under savings plan first. Let us say your current expenditure here is, let us say it is, $9.90. Like $9.90. You are running 10 instances. All the instances are covered under savings plan. But let us say as soon as you created one more instance, now the particular charges will be here $11.90. So the particular charge, like $1.90, will be charged based on on-demand price, and rest will be covered under your savings plan. Are we clear with that?
So there is a one question.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, that thing is also happening into the EKS cluster as well.
Yes, because if you are going to launch your EKS cluster on the top of EC2 machine, then same thing will be applied. Because end of the day, what you are going to do here is you are going to purchase compute power plan.
Okay, because actually I have one question is that once we made an EKS cluster, but the problem is that the database, the RDS, which we have to shift it from one availability zone to another availability zone. So that thing which I have checked, but it won't happen. So is there any answer for it, or we have to do it before that EKS cluster has to made?
So, well, EKS cluster and RDS both are different components. So you need to see the migration of RDS rather than like how we can migrate complete EKS cluster or something like. What you need to do here is you need to look for the RDS migration. And that is quite possible. Like you can force migrate your instance from one availability zone to another.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So yes, guys, are we clear with the difference between savings plan and reserve instances? Yes, guys, are we clear with that? And like, I hope that we are clear with this particular concept as well. Like, how do we utilize on-demand and spot instance under same auto scaling group? Right, guys?
Under same auto scaling group, you mean like we are choosing instance according to our need, right? Being an AWS engineer. On
Yeah,
same
right.
auto scaling group, you mean?
I mean to say, let us say if we are running an application and we need to ensure the high availability. So why do we have multiple instances here? Let us say if this instance goes down, then other 5 or maybe the 7 are still running, right?
Okay.
So how will that new instance will be recovered? So that will happen with the help of auto scaling group. We have already discussed within previous session. I hope you remember that. Otherwise, we are going to discuss once again. So auto scaling group is a particular feature of AWS in order to ensure the availability of instances. Whatever number of instances we have, AWS auto scaling group is a particular tool within AWS, which ensures to recreate the instance if it is deleted or if it is destroyed because of any unforeseen reason. Okay, guys. So now purchasing options are clear. Like we know very well what is on demand, what is spot, what is reserve instance, what is savings plan. I hope we are clear with that.
Yes.
Okay, great. Then network. So guys, network is like lies here. Network says that we have different mode of networks here, which are known as VPC, virtual private cloud. So guys, keep this thing in mind. Whenever we need to set up a production infrastructure, so we are never supposed to use the default VPCs. The keep very first thing in mind. If someone is going to ask you, okay, like how do you manage your VPCs, right? So guys, we need to understand and we need to respond with a very proper and appropriate answer that we do not use default VPCs in production environment. And why is that so? Because let us say there is a particular VPC. For example, this is one VPC. This is another VPC, right? For example, this is in Mumbai. This is VPC, which is created in Mumbai. And let us say this is VPC, which is created in, let us say, Ohio, right? Now, if there is a particular hypothetical situation that you need to transfer your data from here to here, like any sort of situation may arise anytime, right? We never know that. Let us say when we started organization, when we started our company, that was working only in Ohio, but company thought of expanding the business. Right now we need to offer, like we need to open a particular branch within Mumbai as well. So we may need to transfer data from Ohio to Mumbai and from Mumbai to Ohio. Are we clear with that? The requirement. So guys, if we use default VPC, here, what is going to be challenged? There is a particular IP address list, 172.31.0.0/16. This is a IP address range which will be created in Mumbai. And unfortunately, if we use default VPC of AWS, so guys, keep this thing in mind, we are going to get the same IP address list there as well. So there will be a particular situation of IP confliction, which means we shall not be able to transfer or we shall not be able to communicate between two different data centers like Mumbai and Ohio. That is why it is always recommended to create your custom VPCs. Keep this thing in mind, guys. It is always recommended to create a custom VPCs. VPC means virtual private cloud, wherein what you are going to do here is, let us say your first segment will be here. For example, 10.0. Let us say 0.0, and over here what you are going to do here is you are going to have here like 10.1.0.0. It means this network and this network both are going to be different. Now VPC pairing may happen. If you need to create another VPC, let us say you are going to have really like large infrastructure. What you are going to do, you will have maybe 2.0, 3.0, up to like n number of VPCs you may have here. Are we clear with that, guys?
Yes. So one question I wanted to ask. So suppose the request traffic is coming for this Mumbai region. So how can we direct the traffic to Ohio region?
Okay, so we are not going to send traffic from Mumbai to Ohio. Let us say if we need to like create a database replica in Ohio. For example, if we need to copy some backup from Mumbai to Ohio, in that case, connectivity will be required. Moreover, if we have to talk about load balancing stuff, then what would happen here? There are two types of load balancers available. First of all, known as ELB, like elastic load balancer. That is a regional service. Let us say if you need to manage your load within a single region on different multiple availability zones, then we are going to use ELB. Or if we need to talk about, like you need to route your traffic across availability zone, then we will use Route 53. So Route 53 is going to be a global load balancer. So it will be capable enough to forward your traffic from one region to another. Like half of the traffic you can send in Mumbai and half of the traffic you can forward in Ohio. That way.
Okay, got it.
So we will be discussing all these services, these scenarios later on by the passage of time. But for now, we need to understand that these are the particular use cases that why do we need to create custom VPCs if we are going to set up our production infrastructure environment. Why I'm telling you? Because we like at initial phase when we started using AWS, so we had committed these sort of mistakes and we were not able to communicate two different VPCs with one another, and we had to migrate one VPC to another. Like in just in order to change the particular IP address segment, we had to migrate the resources from one VPC to another. So that is why I'm telling you that whenever we are going to create like our production infrastructure, so guys, it is recommended not to use default VPC. Right now, we need to select a particular availability zone. Whatever availability zone we want, we can definitely select it, guys, here. So what is going to be subnet here? Subnet is a particular usable IP address range out of that VPC, right? Or you can call that one subnet is equal to one data center or one availability zone. Clear, guys? Okay, auto-sign public IP address, guys. So what is the use case here? Auto-sign public IP. So whenever we create one EC2 machine and if we need to connect to that over internet, then guys, in that case, we are going to use auto-assign public IP. So guys, yes, this is a particular question within interview usually asked that, okay, do you assign a public IP address in your production environment or not? Yes, guys. Guys, do you assign public IP address with your EC2 machine in production environment or not?
No, Lokendra.
And why is that so?
No, actually, we need to, it's a very critical one, right? So we need to put it in a private subnet, moreover to in public subnet.
Okay. So guys, we need to understand like couple of things here first before like jumping onto any decision. So there are three types of applications. First of all, FE, front end. Front end, which accept traffic from public, like, or you can call it public facing. The very first type of applications are known as front end or which are public facing. It means these server directly accepts traffic from internet. All the users means like public, end user, our customer, our client. So these users send requests from internet to these servers, and obviously these servers are kept in DMZ. There is a particular zone based on network. DMZ stands for demilitarized zone. Demilitarized zone, which is known as DMZ. So this is highly secure and highly vulnerable as well. Why it is highly secure? Because we allow only very limited port. Let us say only port 80 and 443 will be open for internet, and rest all ports, maybe it is 22, 21 and XYZ, whatsoever port you know. So these ports are exposed only to limited users only. For example, if you need to do SSH, then you will be allowed from office or maybe from home IP. So this 22 port will not be exposed over internet in any case, because this is vulnerable. This is exposed over internet, and even from internet may try to do SSH, like may try to take a session of your remote server remotely and would try to access all the resources whichever are available, like using some malicious ways, right? So that is why port number 22 will be allowed either from your office IP address or from your home IP address. So this is known as DMZ. So all the servers in DMZ tend to have a public IP address with them. So guys, keep this thing in mind. If we are going to create a particular server here, which is supposed to be part of maybe your
So is this we call it as a jump server?
Well, I should not be calling it as a jump server. Jump server has a different concept. So right now, what we are trying to discuss is like how do we
yeah, I also want to ask about this jump server, because I also work in an environment where I need to log into jump server. Then I go to that particular UAT environment, production environment, and other environments. So what is basically jump server, sir? I will forget this question he asked, and I also wanted to know what actually is jump server in the environment, in production, in the live servers.
Okay. So let me tell you, I hope that even we shall not be able to create one EC2 machine even. See how slow I am.
So today's session is very interactive. We got many interactive people over there in this batch.
Okay, not a problem. I personally feel that I'm too slow to create one EC2 machine. It hardly takes 30 seconds to create EC2 machine. And it's been more than 1 hour. We are discussing just EC2 machine and we are on the second screen only. Sorry, third. We're on the third screen. Okay, not to worry. So first of all, what happens? I was telling you that first of all, we have DMZ, like demilitarized zone. All the public, or you can call that front-end facing servers are kept here, which are supposed to be accepting traffic from internet directly. Those servers are kept here. Second type of environment which we have, that is known as Prodzone. Now guys, what does it mean Prodzone? So let us say, if I have to write a couple of software, let us say that is Apache, let us say that is Tomcat, let us say that is Nginx, let us say that is IIS in case of Windows, right? So these are the software which may be installed, which may be available to end users based on this particular availability zone, right? So zone name here is demilitarized zone. Yes, guys. So either is Apache, Tomcat, Nginx, or maybe IIS, these sort of servers we have. Now, when we talk about Prodzone, so guys, what does it mean? What sort of software may be installed here? So let us say if you are using a WordPress website, right? Second thing, if it is not a WordPress, it could be Magento. It could be your, maybe your WebLogic. It could be your WebSphere. It could be any other software. Let us say it could be a Java-based microservices. It could be a node, like the particular applications which are not accepting traffic from internet directly. These sort of services are placed inside Prodzone, right guys? Where direct traffic from internet does not land here, right? That particular traffic or that particular zone is known as Prodzone. And guys, keep this thing in mind. The particular applications which are running in this particular zone, these do not tend to have public IP addresses. These machines or the particular servers will have only private IP address configured, because we never expose WordPress, Magento, WebLogic, Java-based application, or maybe Node, React, or .NET, whatever these are. We never expose these sort of application over internet, because the particular applications which we have here, so these application contains basically the business logic. Now, what does that mean, business logic? For example, when you are trying to log into an application, let us say you are talking about Flipkart, or let us say you are talking about any other website. So what is the particular behavior of a user? Like what is the particular flow of user journey? So will a user be able to add a product to cart without logging in? Okay. Another example is WhatsApp. So will you be able to send any message without creating your account or without signing into WhatsApp? Yes, guys. Will you be able to send any message from WhatsApp without signing in or without creating your account?
No.
No. Why it is so? Because that is the business logic of WhatsApp. That first of all, they need to verify the identity. Second thing, if you talk about Flipkart, so Flipkart has a particular business model that if a user is browsing any sort of component or any sort of product on the website, right? Then in that particular case, a user will be allowed to add any product to cart without signing in, without becoming a customer of Flipkart. Why it is so? Flipkart feels that if a customer has added anything to a cart, in that case, before checkout, we are going to ask the details. If Flipkart or maybe Amazon or maybe any other website which are selling the product to multiple customers, if they make it mandatory that in order to browse our products, you will have to sign up, you will have to create your account, you will have to share your details with us, then n number of chances are there, like a lot of chances are there, the person would not feel good enough. Person would not feel connected with the website because first of all, they are collecting the user data. After that, they are allowing them to browse. So that sort of logics where these are written, these are known as application server. And these application servers are kept inside Prodzone. The particular next zone here is, which is known as DB, like database zone. So DB zone means, let us say we name couple of softwares here. Let us say it could be MySQL. It could be a PGSQL, like PSQL we can define here. It could be your Maria. It could be your Mongo. It could be your Oracle. It could be your MS SQL. So any sort of databases you may want to have here, but guys, keep this thing in mind. Once again, these databases are not going to be exposed over internet. These databases may be MySQL, PSQL, Maria, Mongo, Oracle, or whatsoever databases you would like to have. So these databases are never supposed to have in your in your DMZ or maybe in your Prodzone. There is a particular separate zone for that because no internet is allowed here. No internet is allowed here. No one from internet will be able to access these servers. Now, when I say that no one from internet will be allowed to access these servers, then how we are going to access it? So guys, there has to be a particular way. Let us say we are sitting here, like this is cloud, like internet, and let us say we are sitting here in our office. So in order to connect to these databases, because obviously we do not have databases kept in the same office where we work for performing operations. So first of all, we will connect over internet. Right, guys? From here, we connect to these servers. So when we talk like from here, we connect to internet and from here, we connect to this. So over here, there is a particular concept known as VPN. Virtual Private Network. Right? VPN, we need to connect from office to VPN we connect. And this VPN will create a private tunnel over public IP address. Like that is a particular different functionality of VPN we may discuss later on. But what happens here is we are never supposed to access these databases or these prod servers directly over public IP address. First of all, these servers do not have public IP address like DB and Prodzone servers. Second thing, if we need to connect, then how do we do that? We will have a VPN, like virtual private network setup from office to database servers or to web servers. Yes, it could be possible that if these servers like Apache and Tomcat IIS, if these servers are exposed over internet and we have a particular port opened from our office IP address to these servers, then we may jump from this office to this particular place directly without using VPN. Now, where is this particular concern of security? How we are going to ensure security in this particular case, guys? So guys, keep this thing in mind when we are talking about security of this particular infrastructure, then how we are going to ensure it? That we will whitelist the particular port number 22 on the servers from office VPN IP address only. There has to be a particular IP address on which VPN is configured. So even from our office, if anyone is going through that VPN public IP address, only then it will be allowed in order to ensure like one additional layer of security. Now, let us say if due to any unforeseen reason, our VPN is not working, then what would happen, guys? In that case, definitely no one will be allowed to log into that server. If VPN is down, then what would happen? Will anyone be able to log into these servers? Will anyone be able to log into these servers if VPN is down?
No.
No. Okay. So in case of cloud compute environment, what do we have here is like we have another VPC or we have another network which is known as management zone. This zone is similar to this particular zone which is known as DMZ. This particular zone will have two types of servers. Either these may have exposure over internet or these may not have exposure over internet, such as all the components such as the particular servers or the particular services where customer data is not stored will be created within management zone. First of all, your Jenkins. Okay, guys, what do you think? Do we have any sort of customer information like related to credit card, related to debit card, personal detail, date of birth, mother's name, home address, any sort of information to be stored on Jenkins? Yes, guys. Do we store any sort of information? No. Okay,
Sir,
great.
it is an integration tool, like ये तो Java based integration tool है.
Agreed. So what was my question? Do we store any sort of customer information on Jenkins? Answer here is no. On Ansible? No.
No.
Okay. On, let us say,
No.
monitoring tool? No, we do not store any sort of
No.
customer information on monitoring tool as well. Then after, we may have a particular way to, like, we have a particular server which is known as jump server here. So jump server is one EC2 machine which is configured with one public IP address, right? So first of all, from office, we may log into this server over public IP address, or if once again there is a if VPN, virtual private network, is configured, then from office we will log into this particular jump server on private IP address, because now VPN is connected. If VPN is not functioning, then obviously from office we will log into this particular jump server over public IP address, and from here every single component may be related to your database, may be related to your application servers, may be related to your web servers or whatever front-end servers. So from this particular location, from your office, first of all, you will log into a jump server, and from jump server, every single component will be connected over port number 22. Now, what is going to happen? Whether it is Apache, Tomcat, Nginx, IIS, only port number 22, let us say port number 22 will be allowed from the IP address of this jump server. So what is going to look like? So port number 22 of these servers will be allowed to be logged in from, let us say 34.11.22. So if server IP address of source is 10.34.11.22, only in that case these servers will open open SSH connection on port 22 for this server only. And this, what is this server? This is the IP address of our jump server. So this is how it works. Like, first of all, from office we will log into jump server, and from jump server we will log into Prodzone, DMZ zone, or DB zone. And one more thing here is, guys, it could be possible that we may have one other component which is known as our dev or maybe T&D environment. Like test and development environment we may have, like, and this sort of environment may have all the things as combination in one. Like we may have DMZ, we may have prod, we have DB in the same like testing zone. Are we clear with that, guys? Guys, are
Yes.
you clear with the role of jump server within a production environment?
Yes.
Yeah, we got it.
Great. Any other question, guys?
Can you
So far
just,
if you have?
I have a question.
Please go ahead, Andy.
Yes, sir. So this IP address of the jump server is the only IP address that's actually allowed on port 22. That's the way we actually restrict who actually accesses the Apache servers, right? Because it's also a public access there.
No, Nadeem, there is a particular conflict here. So within last diagram, I told that only port 80 and 443 will be allowed for public.
I see.
And anyone on internet will be able to access these servers on port 80 and 443. Maybe it is Apache, Tomcat, Nginx, or IIS. Yes, when it comes to security, let us modify the IP address to maybe 33, because 22 is the port number, and once again, if we define it 22, then that may look like a conflicting, or like we can define a jump server IP. Right. Okay, so port 80 and 443 will be accessible over internet to everyone. Whosoever has access to internet will be allowed to access our server on port 80 and 443. Port 80 stands for HTTP. Port 443 stands for HTTPS.
Yes.
Right. So port
Yes.
80 and 443 are accessible over internet to everyone, and port 22 of all the instances, let us say we have multiple machines, like we have maybe 20 machines created here, maybe we have 50 machines created here. So every single machine will allow access of port 22 from jump server only. That is why no one is able to access the servers from office directly.
I see.
That is how we design it.
Right. So
And-
so what happens?
Yeah, please.
What happens within the jump server? So does it actually have a protocol for IP forwarding that happens, or?
So there are two things. First of all, either we may configure IP forwarding here, first thing, but if we have a lot of IP addresses, then what happens? First of all, we log in here. We have our own username and password. We will use that username and password in order to log into this jump server. And from here, once again, we are going to execute SSH command to log into these servers.
I see. I see. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay. Sir, are the OpenVPN and Tunnel Blink is the example of jump server?
OpenVPN is not example of jump server. So jump server, you can call that like I have created one EC2 machine. Over there, I have created 50 users, like we have created Tom, Dick, Harry, Susan, Natasha, Ram, Shyam, Ghanshyam, whatever. So these sort of users we have created on that EC2 machine. Now all the users are sitting in office. All the users will first of all log in over VPN to this particular jump server. First of all, they will connect their VPN, because what happens here is even we may allow that even this jump server will be accessible from office IP address only in order to enhance the level of security. That if any user, let us say I'm sitting here, this is my laptop. I would pick a better one. Yes. Let us say this is my laptop. I'm sitting my home, right? I'm sitting my home. Now, what do I want here is from home, I would like to connect to my office first. And how will I connect? With the help of VPN, right? From my home
Yes.
address, I will connect to my office VPN over VPN.
VPN.
My office is already connected with VPN to this particular AWS infrastructure over VPN. So there are two tunnels from home to office and office to jump server. And this jump server will not allow you to be accessible from your home IP address directly. That is why, first of all, we have to connect our VPN connection in order to log into jump server. So this
Could you
is,
call it as a VDI, sir?
pardon?
Could you call it as a VDI something?
Yes, you can call that VDI. So VDI is something like, rather than calling it a particular jump server, you can call that VDI. Virtual desktop interface, you can call that, right? So first of all, like in that case, like if you have Windows, you can call that VDI. If that is like Linux, you can call that jump server. And not only jump server, what do we call it here? It is known as bastion host as well. So someone may call it jump server or someone may call it bastion host. So guys, I hope the picture is clear.
Very clear, sir.
Yeah, perfect. It looks.
Thank you. Okay, so guys, now what we are going to do here is, so we were talking about autos and public IP address, and just to explain this much, we have spent more than 30 minutes in this particular diagram. So that is the particular beauty of questions. If you will keep on asking, I'll keep on telling. No interactions is the worst thing. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so guys, host name, definitely we are not going to spend a lot of time there. So there are two ways. Either you can use IP based or resource based. What does that mean? So whenever one EC2 machine will be created, so the particular name of that, like IP address, let us say the IP address here is, for example, that is going to be something like 10.0.0. Let us say 99. So the host name here will be IP 10-0-0- what is going to be 99. So this is going to be the particular host name of that machine which is going to be created. So this is going to be the host name. If this is the IP address, like upper line is the IP address, then the second line is going to be the host name of that EC2 machine. If we select this scheme as to be kept as host name type, if it is resource name, then definitely it is going to let you know, like if it is EC2, if it is load balancer and something like, so definitely it will define a host name with a different way. And that does not matter actually, because anyhow, in any which way, this particular host name is not going to make an impact on our like productivity or the particular connectivity, anything. This is just a host name to identify the like number of like name of host, name of that machine. That is it. So by default, earlier it used to be IP name only. Now there is one additional resource available, which is not based on resource name. So any which way, whatever you want, you can define that based on your like naming convention. Well, I do not touch it anyway. Now, guys, what is placement group? So guys, if you really want to have higher throughput and low network latency, then you can create a particular placement group. In that case, AWS will ensure that all the resources which you are going to create are going to be placed in the same sort of physical hardware network. High throughput and low latency is the advantage of placement group. Now, guys, what is capacity reservation? So guys, if we go back and if we talk about purchasing option, so this is similar to capacity reservation as well. Now, what does that mean, guys? So let us say I am I'm very fond of creating a particular type of EC2 machine, which is M5.8x large. Like my requirement says that this is the only best fit machine which we have. Like it provides me 32 CPU and maybe 128 GB of RAM, sort of. Now, when I tried creating a new machine, right, guys? When I tried creating a new machine, so at that moment, I got a message from AWS that resource is not available. Or at the time of provisioning that machine, I got a couple of errors. That machine cannot be provisioned or something like. When I raised a ticket to AWS, although this used to be very this used to happen very, very rarely. In fact, I have faced this issue with Mumbai region. So if you raise a ticket to AWS, AWS will say that we do not have resources available to provision this specific type of instance. You may choose a different type of hardware. Maybe rather than using C type, you can go for M class, you can go for T type, you can go for maybe some other instance type, right? So in that case, if you really want that, you need to create that specific type of resources within AWS, the same reason, same availability zone and other things are there. So if you want that specific hardware specification, then guys, you will have to select this particular open and by group ID, like target by group, target by ID. So that like that way you will have to open a reservation. And guys, keep this thing in mind. If you open a particular capacity reservation for you, then you will have to pay for the resource. You may use it or not. Once again, we may take example of Ola and Uber, such as you booked a Ola cab is sitting like cab is like waiting in front of your home, in front of your like door gate and your home gate, and you are not sitting inside it. So will that Ola driver will charge you or not for that, for waiting for entire day?
Yeah, he's charging.
He's charging same thing. If you have a capacity reservation open, then in that case, guys, definitely you will have to pay for it. Now, in case if you are a window geek, if you are working with Windows, and you have to ensure that as and when the particular Windows server is created, so like you need to integrate that particular server with like Active Directory, which is known as AD, Active Directory. So in that case, guys, what can happen here is at the time of EC2 machine creation only, you can join this machine under that AD. That option is also available here. And if you want to create a new AD, then definitely this option is given here. You can create a new directory as well. Now, guys, what is IAM role? So, guys, IAM and AMM. Yeah.
Sir, one thing I want to ask. So, just before you discuss, so the subnet is attached to the VPC. Is it a public subnet or private subnet?
Okay. For now, we need to understand subnet is just a subnet. Public and private we will talk about later at the time of VPC creation.
Okay.
Because right now, if I say like it is a public subnet, another question would be here: how do you know it is public subnet? Because I created it. Like that way, I will have to answer why it is so. Because right now we are into a discussion for EC2 machine. If we go for that subnet creation, that like it is private, it is public, how do we define it in order to like trace it? So that will take really long time. So we will spend good enough time on VPC creation. Why it is so? If you can design your organization network with the proper way, then you are the champion. If you do not know like network and basic topology, then whatever you know, howsoever fast command you can type, no, it is of no use. We need to have a basic understanding of these things, and not only basic, we need to have like deep dive understanding of it. Okay, guys. So when we are talking about IAM rule, so guys, there are two components, AMI and IAM. How these are different, and what is the use of IAM? Anyone? Any volunteer here?
Yes, the IAM role is you can actually create roles and then you can assign them to different users. Let's say you want to have someone use the service manager module without SSH keys. They can actually, so you can create an IAM module, IAM role and attach it to that EC2. So you can give people certain, you can certain roles in AWS.
Okay, good.
We can control the resource access through IAM rules.
Okay.
The permission that has been given to the users. So restrictions will be provided like a specific database user who has to access it. So only the database role will be given to the specific IAM user.
Okay.
In one line, we can say like you can create the policies and this IAM role so that like you can attach with your EC2 instance. So with that, like you will you are giving the condition like this user is able to read that particular service or like they can have the execute permission or whatever the full permission. So whatever the permission they want to have for that particular service, you can attach with that.
Okay. So to be more specific, the particular thing which you have said, so you have given an example rather than defining the use case of it. Okay, so let me tell you. So for example, we are monitoring our EC2 machine with CloudWatch, right? Now, CloudWatch would prefer to fetch data from EC2 machine. Then after, I want that whatever data is being pushed to CloudWatch, that should also be saved on some S3 bucket in order to analyze that particular trend of EC2 machine resource utilization later on, maybe after 2 months, after 3, or maybe after a year or so, right? So right now there are 3 services combined. First of all, EC2 machine is the base. Second thing is CloudWatch, and now CloudWatch will analyze the data, will create a graph of it. Then after, it will push that same data to S3 as well. Now I want, what do I want here is that I want AWS CloudWatch should be able to read the metrics of EC2. Then CloudWatch would need additional approval or additional permission to read the data of EC2 machine. So how do we define that additional permission to EC2 machine in order to read the data of EC2 machine? That is with the help of IAM. Moreover, when we want that AWS CloudWatch should be able to push data or push the logs or push the metrics to S3 bucket, that will also happen with the help of AWS IAM role. In a nutshell, if we have to like say this, that when we want that some of our AWS resources should be performing some actions on our behalf, then rather than creating a specific user for them, we assign role. Now, what is happening within this scenario? Now, EC2 is sharing the logs of the particular performance which is related to EC2 machine, where it is sending data to CloudWatch. Now, there is a particular correlation between CloudWatch and EC2. CloudWatch will read the metrics and populate the graphs. There is a relation between EC2 and CloudWatch. Now, when data is sent to CloudWatch, CloudWatch will ensure that whatever data I have read and I have populated the graph based on which, now that data has to be pushed to S3 bucket for future purpose, for future references. Now that a CloudWatch is performing on our behalf in order to send logs from CloudWatch to S3. So I hope that makes the particular things clear, that what is IAM role?
Could you just repeat that again, sir?
For sure. So what do I mean to say here is that when we want that some of AWS resources should be performing on our behalf. Okay, who is responsible to set up monitoring of EC2 machine? I'm the person, because I'm working as AWS admin, right? So now I want that I'm not the person who is going to perform like every single bit. I'm going to check the particular logs. I'm not going to read the particular like metrics of CPU utilization, memory utilization, network in, network out bytes. So I want AWS CloudWatch. CloudWatch is a particular monitoring tool which is available inside AWS, right? So I want AWS CloudWatch to be performing that activity on my behalf. But by default, no service is authorized to access the resources of other services. Like AWS CloudWatch by default is not authorized to read the metrics of EC2 machine. Right? Now, when I want that AWS CloudWatch should be authorized in order to read the metrics of EC2 machine, then I will have to assign an IAM role to that CloudWatch, that yes, now I authorize you that you can read the metrics or the particular data which is related to EC2. And after reading that, you can populate some graphs where I can see the outcome of multiple EC2 machine on a single dashboard.
Oh, I see. Thank you so much.
So in that case, we assign one IAM role to one of our AWS resource in order to perform some activity on our behalf. The same way, when AWS CloudWatch has all the logs which are related to EC2 machine, when it has to push logs to S3 bucket. So S3 bucket is a sort of like log storage, or you can call that object storage, right? So now once again, AWS CloudWatch will need permission in order to send data to S3 bucket. So now CloudWatch will be assigned two different roles. The very first role is going to be related to EC2, and second role is going to be related to S3 bucket. Clear, guys?
Oh, very clear.
Yeah, that is how it happens. That is how it works. Okay, so now, so definitely, guys, like we are not going to assign any role here because I really do not want to have that sort of role available associated right now. But yes, I have explained. So, guys, usually people try to confuse you guys during interview, like what is difference between AMI and IAM. See, both are sort of like same sort of like three words are available there, three characters are there, AMI and IAM. So people try to make you confused. So you have to be very, very clear. If it is IAM, it stands for Identity and Access Management, and AMI stands for Amazon Machine Image. Right, guys? So be a little careful when a person is asking question. Next.
If we are getting interviewed for a developer profile, then the abbreviation is not satisfactory for them. If we are like interviewing for a support profile, then the abbreviation will work. This is what I have realized.
See, end of the day, whatever role you are going for, so what happens here is you should be having a deep dive understanding of these concepts.
Yeah. Correct.
Very true.
One more thing I would like to add here, and that is going to be really fruitful for each one of you. So the thing here is, it is not necessary that what role you are working in. If you are a particular, let us say AWS engineer, you will be playing with this particular console where I am playing right now. If you are going to work maybe as a like developer, so what would happen? The particular things which I'm doing here with this particular console, you shall be writing the same clicks into some commands, into any programming or into any logic file. You will be executing that from backend with the help of Terraform, with the help of CloudFormation, or maybe any other sort of automation script, right? But how would you be able to write that particular command, that particular program? If you know the concepts, if you know the concept in detail, only then, guys, you will be able to perform it. Otherwise, definitely, be you are developer, you are associate, you are architect, you are sysops, whatever you are, if you do not have the basic concept knowledge, that is of no use. I hope that you would agree with me on that.
Definitely.
Yes, yeah.
So in case of shutdown behavior, so guys, in case of production or in case of development, it has to be stop only always. We never keep it at terminate. So I have not seen even a single use case where I have created a particular shutdown policy as terminate, shutdown behavior as terminate. And why is that so, guys? Because if we shut down a particular machine, that will be terminated by default. So I do not understand the use case of it. Maybe if we are creating a testing machine, so after performance of our testing, we can manually terminate that. But yes, if that is a particular case where we have to answer the question. So guys, the shutdown behavior has to be stop only. It should not be kept as terminate. Okay, stop. Hibernate behavior. What does that mean, guys? What does that mean?
It's not shut down. It is just minimal resources are being used, sort of a sleep mode.
Then what is stop then?
Just
In saving mode.
it means it's in the same position wherever you left the server.
Okay, then if I want my resources to be kept in same mode or in the same state, then why would I stop my server?
It's a good question.
If I want to keep all of my configuration, my resources, my data in the same state, why would I stop my server?
So
If you answer that way, I will ask this way.
Right.
Okay, not to worry. Now, let us say, I love this tool, one of my favorite. Okay, now let us say, okay, Apple, apply, save, yes. So guys, now what is going to happen here? We have a particular server where we are using some sort of application. Let us say application here is Elasticsearch or Redis or maybe Aerospike or maybe Varnish. Why did I name these 4 applications here? Because guys, these are the 4 applications which are memory intensive. Now, what does that mean? These are memory intensive. So guys, whenever we start performing an operation on like any computer, so we have to keep this thing in mind that what sort of application we are going to install on it. Let us say it is Go language, so that is CPU intensive. So if you are running any program which is written in Golang, so it will consume low memory and high CPU. The same way, if we are using Elasticsearch, Redis, Aerospike or Varnish, then in that case, these applications are going to use less CPU but high amount of memory. And why is that so? Because the particular tendency of these applications are that these applications store all the requested data into memory itself, rather than reading every single request from hard disk and then serving it to like required like request, right? So it keeps all the data within memory itself. So these applications are basically used for caching purpose, right? So let us say there is a particular requirement that I have 19 million records in memory. 19 million records I have in memory, and I need to reboot my server because I have done maybe some sort of patching, maybe some sort of other activity I have performed here. I need to take a reboot of my server. So what would happen with these 19 million records? Yes, guys. If I restart my computer or my server, my laptop, whatever you or my machine, whatever you prefer to call it, if I reboot it, so guys, what would happen?
IP change.
No, let us forget about IP for a while. First of all, let me tell you, private IP address will never ever get changed of an EC2 machine. Only public may get changed if it is not an elastic IP address. We will come on to it, but later on. Right now, we are talking about Hibernate behavior. So guys, if I take a reboot of my machine, or you can call that my EC2 machine, right? So what would happen here? these 19 million records will not be found once the machine comes up back. But what do I want here is, even if I'm going to reboot, these records should be made available. These records should be made available. Right, guys?
They're cached in the memory.
Yes, in the cache memory. So what would happen here? So let us say if my machine, my EC2 machine has, let us say 128 GB of RAM. Let me type in here. My machine has 128 GB of RAM. Now I would ensure that the same amount of disk, let us say I have one Linux operating system and there's a particular slash mount point, slash, right? This is known as a mount point. So I need to ensure that at least 200 GB of disk should be associated here, plus at least 150 GB of disk space should be free. 150 GB disk space should be free. So what would happen in that particular case? As soon as my operating system will start shutting down, so before shutting down, that particular operating system will ensure to migrate the particular 19 million records from RAM to this particular disk before shutting down. And as soon as my server will come back, as soon as my server or my computer will come back running, so that will start reading the 19 million records which are saved here. In order to process, it could be possible that 19 million records were processed maybe within like 3 months, right? So in order to ensure that all the records are available onto RAM as soon as computer is up and running after reboot, so those records will be read from this particular disk. That is known as shutdown behavior as Hibernate.
Oh,
I guess now the requirement is clear, guys.
very clear.
One more thing I would like to add here. The particular disk should be mounted on slash. The very first thing, the particular disk where we would like to add the particular, where we would like to save the particular 19 million records. And guys, keep this is 19 million is just a random number I thought of. That is just for example. Like 128 GB of RAM, it is just also one random number. So what do I mean to say is, first of all, the space should be made available on the slash partition side. Second thing, this particular disk has to be encrypted. If this disk is not encrypted, then this particular option will not work. I am actually not going to do that. And guys, one more thing, like these sort of options are available only specific machine, like wherever we are using Nitro hypervisor. There are different type of hypervisor, like we have Zen, we have KVM, we have Nitro. So wherever, whichsoever machine within AWS supports Nitro hypervisor, whatsoever machine supports Nitro hypervisor will be capable enough to provide this option. Otherwise, this option is not enabled by default for every type of machine. Now, if you need to identify, like how will you read that particular, how will you get to know whether a machine is Nitro hypervisor supported or not? We can go to this particular console, the same console where we were earlier. Allow me to have a minute. Okay, yes. We will go to instance type. We will go to this instance type. And over here, we are going to look for, let us say we are going to go for M5.4x large. And let us say we are going to go for T2.micro. If I go here, if I select this instance type, so you will get to know instance of T2 micro, instance memory this. What is hypervisor? Guys, what is hypervisor here?
Zen.
Zen. What is sustained clock speed, like clock speed? 2.5 gigahertz.
Right.
Right. So every sort of information we can figure out along with this particular panel. Okay. Now, if I go back and if I select that another type of instance here, which was like T5 dot like M, that is C5 dot for X dash. What is hypervisor type?
Nitro.
Yes. So that's the difference. So wherever Nitro hypervisor is like the machine type is backed up with Nitro hypervisor type, only those machines will be capable enough to allow you to enable this particular option. Are we clear with that, guys?
Very clear.
Okay, great. So enable production, enable termination protection. What does it mean, guys? So keep this thing in mind whenever we are working with this like option. So this has to be enabled by default in production environment. This has to be enabled. And what is the requirement of it? Let us say that someone from you joined my organization, like you became part of my team, and I have given you a task. Let us say that I have assigned you, okay, like all unwanted resources in dev environment which are not logged in within last 15 days, terminate that. Finally, after maybe doing a research of maybe 1 or 2 or maybe for 3 hours, you got to know that there is only one machine which you need to remove. You got that verified with me. Even I said, yes, go ahead. But what happened? Accidentally, unknowingly, you selected the specific machine and one other machine was already selected. That is happening unknowingly, or you can call that accidentally. You selected one, but by default, 2 instances got selected. If this option is enabled, so you will not be able to terminate that machine wherever this option is enabled. So for production environment, for production use case, this option has to be enabled. And even for development as well, if the machine is serving any of like segment of users, whether these are from in-house, which are known as developer, tester, or maybe QA engineers, whatever. So this option has to be enabled. Yes, if we have created a particular machine for testing purpose only, then you may not want to enable it. Are we clear with that, guys?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, then monitoring section if we talk about. So guys, CloudWatch, the particular component which we were talking about in case of IAM, like how do we assign and how do we use this particular CloudWatch for monitoring. So guys, CloudWatch is a particular tool which is by default enabled from the side of AWS in order to perform monitoring. So guys, AWS is very smart. I must say AWS is very smart. So they have enabled monitoring for our EC2 resources, but in a very like tricky way. And what is the tricky way, guys? So AWS has enabled default monitoring of 5-minute spend period. Like every 5 minutes, AWS CloudWatch will get refreshed with latest amount of data. So guys, if we are working in a production environment, is that data going to be useful anyhow? Is that data going to be useful anyhow if we are talking about production environment?
Maybe, maybe not. Every 5 minutes?
No, definitely not. Why it is so? If you are working on a critical environment, and if your services are down for 5 minutes, and after 5 minutes you are getting an alarm,
right?
Of no use.
Of no use.
But why has AWS enabled these sort of things? Because AWS has to ensure the charges. For example, how much network you are utilizing, how much disk you are utilizing, what is IO of your disk, what is like CPU utilization, what is like what amount of credit has been consumed by a customer. So AWS can calculate that particular like values. Calculation can be done after 5 minutes. But in order to ensure production monitoring, we actually cannot rely on this particular CloudWatch. So guys, there is one exam question as well, which usually comes related to this CloudWatch. That what is the particular time span of detailed monitoring? Guys, this is default, but question may come for default or maybe for detailed. So guys, detailed monitoring time span will be 1 minute. Like every single minute, AWS will keep on refreshing the latest metrics of your EC2 machine, or not only EC2 machine, whatever like components you are monitoring that. So in case of EC2, by default, it is 5 minutes and detailed monitoring will be for 1 minute. And guys, additional charges will be applied in that particular case. Are we clear with that, guys?
Very, very clear. Would it be better than just to have something like Nagios as opposed to trying to use?
Yes, you are right, Nadeem. You are right. You are absolutely right. So in that case, if we are talking about real production environment, so most of organizations, they do not rely on CloudWatch, but they prefer to use like Prometheus, Nagios, New Relic, maybe Datadog, Splunk, or maybe any other sort of monitoring tool. And even if you want to go for like API level of monitoring, then you can go with like App Dynamics as well. But obviously these are highly paid tools. But definitely you can prefer to like look into that.
Right.
Sir, we can do it Prometheus and Grafana as well.
So Prometheus is a basically time series database for used for monitoring. Grafana is a dashboard of it.
Right. Splunk has a APM module that does API level monitoring.
So like that is known as APM. So APM can be integrated even with your Elasticsearch.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yes. Okay. So when we are talking about tenancy, so guys, there are three options. There are two options available. In fact, there should be three. But right now, this is Mumbai, so this option is not available. And even I do not have a dedicated host in my account. That's why it is disabled. So guys, we can have a run a shared hardware instance or run a dedicated instance. So these two options are available. So by default, the particular cloud service providing model works on like shared hardware resources. We prefer to share the resources between different customers. AWS says that when we have a particular free server available where new customer can come up and create resources for them, then why should we not allow them to perform that activity? Right, guys?
Right.
But if you want, let us say, if you want to have a dedicated instance running within AWS, then definitely you can have that particular as well. Some charges will be different and something like, and you can have your dedicated instance running maybe on some physical server. And that physical server will be allocated for you only. But obviously, once again, there will be commitment for 1 year, for 3 years, or so and so forth. But yes, options are available that you can create a particular dedicated host within AWS environment for running your own resources based on your requirement. Now, credit specification. What does that mean? Unlimited. So guys, there are three types of EC2 machines within AWS which are available like P2, P3, and P4. So these type of instances are known as general purpose instances, and AWS provides some sort of CPU credit limit with this. So ideally, if someone is going to ask you, okay, do we use these servers in production? Yes, we use, but only for those set of applications where we know that the consumption of CPU or the load on CPU is not going to be really high. Keep this thing in mind, guys. If the particular consumption of CPU is not going to be really high, only then these instances are supposed to be used in production, otherwise not. Now, if you enable it, so there will be no limitation on CPU utilization for the resources which you are going to create in AWS. But guys, yes, I must say that if you enable it, then additional charges will be added on. For example, you can take an example of credit card. By default, limit of credit card is 50,000 rupees. You have spent maybe up to like 45, and still there is a requirement you need to spend 10 more thousand, which is going beyond the limit of your credit card. Then you may ask your bank or the particular credit card provider to add up some additional limit within your credit card, and they would charge you some extra for the same. I hope I make myself clear over here.
Yes, it's very clear.
Great. Sounds good. So guys, I'm going to leave these options for next session because these are for advanced purposes. Definitely we will discuss it, but I actually want to create one EC2 machine today. It's been 2 hours and we are just on the third section. Let us see if I can create one EC2 machine today. Yeah, jokes apart. So guys, are you enjoying it or like what?
Brilliant. Excellent.
Great. So now I would go next, and I would like to go ahead with like add story section. Now, guys, once again, this is going to take some time in order to add volume. So first of all, the volume type. So guys, there are two type of volume. First of all,
Your voice is not audible.
guys, just a moment, got a call from office. Just 1 minute. Yeah, sorry guys. So
No problem.
there are two type of volumes. Actually, being a working professional, it is sometimes becomes hard to manage both things. It is my passion and that is my profession. Okay. So volume type, there are two type of volume, either root or the data volume. Data volume means, first of all, when we are creating one EC2 machine, so at least one volume has to be associated there. So that volume is known as root volume. So guys, usually within interviews, a person may ask you that what are the different type of volume have you worked with? What are the different type of volumes have you worked with? That is first question. Second thing is, now if that is the question, so guys, there are 5 basically. What are the different type of volume have you worked with? So there are 5: GP2, GP3, IO1, IO2, and standard. So guys, first of all, we need to understand that what are the use cases of it. So when AWS started providing these sort of services, so AWS began with this GP2, general purpose tool. So these type of volumes were meant to provide IOPS, like at least 100 IOPS it will provide. 100 IOPS means if you are going to create maybe like 50 GB, like 15 GB of disk space, maybe 30 GB of disk space, then at least 100 IOPS you were supposed to get along with this type of volume. Second thing, throughput was not a use case of this. There was no throughput available, only IOPS. So guys, tomorrow there will be a particular homework for you. You guys are going to tell me the difference between IOPS, like input output per second, and throughput, MB per second. What are the use cases of these two components? I hope that will not be really hard work for you to do. But yes, guys, I would love to hear from you that what is the difference between IOPS and throughput. Otherwise, I'll explain. Need not to worry. I know that part, but I thought of that I should ask you guys to do some R&D of that.
Yes,
So guys,
it's a good homework.
Yes, and very small and tricky as well. Okay, so guys, when AWS started working with it, so AWS began with like GP2 type, at least 100 IOPS, and if it is beyond 100, then 3 IOPS per GB. For example, if I define here 33 GB of disk space, so 33 into 3 equal to 99, then even we are going to get 100 IOPS. If I make it 34, for example, then it will become 102. 102. It means 34 into 3 equal to 102. Is that clear? 3 IOPS, like 3 IOPS per GB, but minimum baseline should be 100. That is the rule of AWS. Let us say if I define here 30 into 3 equal to 90, but obviously you will not be able to see this value below 100. For example, if I define here, let us say 500, so 500 into 3 equal to 1500. But a baseline has to be like, what should I call that? Yes, 100. Below 100, it will not provide, but 3 IO per GB beyond 33, beyond 34 GB, you can call that, right? Okay, now what is the use case of GP3? So guys, if someone is going to ask you that what is the best quality disk available within AWS, which should be utilized in a production environment. So guys, GP3 is the best one. First of all, it is cheaper than every other one. Obviously, magnetic we can Obviously, we cannot use magnetic within production environment because the performance is really dull. We can actually not get that sort of performance which are required to be available within production environment. Yes. So GP3 is the best one. It is cheaper in comparison to GP2. Moreover, if you see, the baseline here is like 3000 IOPS. Moreover, it does not provide only IOPS, it provides throughput as well. So it is going to be a combination of throughput as well as IOPS. Moreover, it is cheaper in comparison to GP2 because these are latest technology volumes available. Okay, if we talk about IO3, like IO1, IO means provisioned IOPS. So it is going to provide you baseline now for 500, and if you talk about here up to then what should I say? A lot of IOPS you can get here, like up to 1000 GB you can get here, up to 3000 IOPS you can get here, and that will be also depending on like different type of volume type. Maximum of 16,000 IOPS you can get along with this type of base, which is extreme, which is way beyond than required, right? If we talk about IO2, then definitely minimum 1000, minimum 5000, and if we talk about maximum, then you can get a lot of like 50 IO per GB are going to get over here with a baseline of, if you read here, with a baseline of 1000 IOPS, and that sort of maximum are going to be 16,000. No throughput is available, guys, if you see here. Overall, it is costlier in comparison to GP2 and GP3, and no throughput available. This is the only disk type which is going to provide you throughput as well as IOPS, and moreover, it is cheaper. So if someone is going to ask you that, how did you go for cost optimization within your infrastructure? So you would say that when we started working on cost optimization, we analyzed that there were approx like 10 terabyte of disk space which we were using in our infrastructure, along with like different servers, like some were EC2 machine, and obviously like some were created at root volume, some were created at like additional data partition. So we started migrating the particular volumes from GP2 to GP3 because these were first of all providing additional IOPS as well as throughput. Moreover, these were cheaper. So approx $1,000 can be saved per month on up to 10 terabyte of disk space if we just convert the volume type from GP2 to GP3.
Oh,
and
wow.
what are the advantages, guys? Here we are getting higher throughput and higher IOPS and in cheaper price.
No,
I hope
definitely.
we are clear with that.
It's a very fine point.
What is the difference between this general purpose and provision IPs?
Okay, so general purpose is going to provide you throughput as well as IO. Both options are enabled here. In IOPS, you are just going to get IO. Moreover, maximum 16,000 IOPS you can get here. And what is the different like another difference here is baseline. Baseline matters. Over here, you are going to get baseline of 500. In case you are going to get here baseline of 5,000, and the number of IOPS you are going to increase, so that will also add some additional cost into your bill. That will be costlier. This is the cheap and best one, GP3.
Okay, so in general purpose, you can have IPS and throughput, but in provision, you don't have that throughput.
Yes. In case if you go for magnetic, then no option is available, neither IO nor throughput.
It's going to be sluggish.
And that is why it is very much slow.
Yes, that is why it is very much slow. Okay, so right now we are going to go with GP2. One more interesting thing, guys, I would like to show you here. Usually people ask question during interview, like what are the volume types which cannot be utilized as root volume? There are two more. Cold HDD, which is known as SC1, throughput optimized HDD, which is known as ST1. So overall, as of today, AWS provides 7 different type of volumes to be used within EC2, or you can call that to be used with EC2 machine. What are those? General purpose GP2, GP3, IO1, IO2, SC1, cold HDD, and throughput optimized. Now, guys, what is use case of cold HDD? So basically, these type of disks are created keeping this thing in mind that we are going to use only like read IOPS. Like we want to have a particular structure in such a way where we need to read a lot of data. For example, we are using a MySQL cluster, right? One master and 3 slaves are there. Most of time what happens, either we are working with the developer team, we are working with business team, and they need to fetch some data from the database. So in 99% cases, they run only one command: select star from this, where that, like multiple clauses they use in order to fetch the data, right? So
That's true.
this type of disks are really useful in case of high read throughput or high read request. If you want to go with like another one, you can go with throughput optimized. So throughput optimized say that obviously you are going to get like baseline is going to be like 500 MB per terabyte. Over here, baseline is going to be 192 MB per terabyte. But no IOPS. Keep this in mind, guys. Over here, baseline is
192.
192 MB per terabyte. Over here,
500 megabytes.
yes, that's a major difference here. Like even we want to know that what is going to be the extreme size of it, what is going to be the extreme of it, right? So for now, definitely we are not going to add any other type of volume here. We are not going to modify even this type of volume over here. I just wanted to explain you guys that what we can do along with this AWS. And guys, I can guarantee that if you can explain these many things during your interview, then even you will be treated as an architect. Not only 2 years of experience. If you can remember just 40% of it, then definitely you will crack your interview even with really like flying colors.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, dear, and I hope to see you changing your job soon. Okay.
Yes. Can I ask you a question on volume type? You had asked a question on volume type.
Yeah, why not?
So root is what we have, but usually when we were using, for example, Oracle box, just you go through creating a boot partition, you have a root partition, you have you have swap. In this case, EC2 is actually just handling all of that, right?
Right.
So we don't have to define a swap or a boot in this case.
Boot is not required. Basically, only one swap partition is required. So minimum 64 GB of swap is required in order to install Oracle.
I see. Okay.
So because Oracle is actually memory intensive application that ensures that even if there is a high consumption of memory on the operating system, then if there is additional requirement of memory, like your server is eating up all the memory, then at least the particular unused files which are lying on RAM can be like can be shifted to swap.
Swapped. Yes.
That's why like this sort of logic is there.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir. Okay, so now we are going to add tags. We can define a name here. We will discuss this in more detail in next session. Like name, we can define a server again. Let us say Linux box, and we will hit next. Like we can add up to 50 tags here. And why? And guys, why do we add tags? Once again, we can discuss that. Like first of all, name for the identification of the machine. Then OS, like Linux. Then flavor is going to be Red Hat, because we may have different type of like Linux flavors within all. Like we may have Ubuntu, CentOS, Fedora, Mandriva, Debian, Knoppix, and so on and so forth. Team is going to be DevOps. We may want to have software information. We are running Jenkins here. We can talk about environment, like Jenkins may be running on different environment, maybe on production or maybe on dev. We will define here prod, who is going to be server owner. Like we can define Lokendra here or like that. So why do we define owner name? Let us say if the server is running with really low resources, like the server is over provisioned. If we have to resize it, at least we need to send a confirmation email to person that the server is not utilizing the resources assigned. So if you allow, can we reduce it in order to go for cost optimization? Or let us say if there is a particular team known as QA, right? Okay, we can talk about here QA team. So for example, if we need to understand that how many servers are created for QA machine or what is the overall cost we are spending for QA environment. So with the help of these tags, at least we can modify that. We can figure out that, right?
Right. Right.
So guys, this is the particular security group section. We will define a name, maybe Linux box security, Linux box security group. We will copy, we will paste. And now guys, this is very, very interesting. So first of all, we will define here custom. So the guys who were talking about like, first of all, we will define here that only our VPN IP address, let us say 19.22.20 like 11. Let us say 98/8. This is the first IP address. This is related to my office. Moreover, if I want that even my personal IP address, where from I would like to access, that is going to be 211 dot, let us say 22.9.2 slash, let us say 24 or something like. So what I have done here is I have specified 2 IP addresses here, where from I would like to do SSH. Now, if I have to add another ports here, because I know the particular server is being configured to be used as as web server, so I would like that it should be accessible from anywhere. I would like that port 443 should also be accessible to world. So I would like this to be accessible from anywhere. Maybe I can define some description here. All traffic from office and Lokendra home. Right? Maybe over here, all traffic to internet or whatever. Like this is just a description section. So I would not like to emphasize a lot on this. So are we clear with this? Like how do we define security over here?
These are the different ports that are available.
With different ports available. 20 like SSH for like obviously guys, I will not be able to, because these are some imaginary IP addresses. Although these are valid, but I do not have authorization to access from these IP addresses, right? So I would like to say my IP address. This is my original IP address where from I'm accessing or I'm browsing this internet. I will review so all the changes, whatever we have done, what ports we have opened.
Can I ask you a quick question, Lokendra ji?
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
So when you selected my IP, is that the IP of this instance, the private public IP, or the one that you're currently using your laptop?
I think this is the one quickly when he is using it as his laptop.
Yes.
Oh,
Because he's going to access from this laptop only.
I'm with you. Thank you. Yeah.
So
thank you.
Accents speaks louder than words.
Brilliant.
Port range is mentioned sometimes here. So how can we remove that range?
Pardon?
Sometimes it shows port range as well, right? And if you want to remove that port range, then how can we remove that?
Okay, so define a custom port only. Define a custom range.
Okay.
But port ranges are only used especially in Dockers, right?
Wait.
For if you know.
These options are available: custom TCP rule, IPv4. These sort of rules are available here. All traffic, and you can define like the multiple components here. So that will be like all TCP, all UDP, like what sort of traffic you would like to allow. Maybe custom ICMP rule, IPv4, IPv6 custom protocol. You can define that here. You can define protocol. You can define the port range here. Right?
Right.
The options are available. Well, I would not like to add anything here. Okay, so review and launch. I'll hit launch here and I'll select my key. I'll hit acknowledge. Guys, see, usually people try to ask this particular question during interview, that what if my keys are lost, which I used in order to provision my EC2 machine? So guys, keep this thing in mind. In any which way, these keys are not recoverable. These keys will not be recovered anyhow.
Okay.
That's why you have to acknowledge, see, until unless I acknowledge that I have access to the particular corresponding private key, and that without this, I won't be able to log into my instance. If I create a new key pair here, let us say I give it a name, maybe anything. If you download this private key file, .pem, whatever, before you continue, store it in a secure and accessible location. You will not be able to download the file again after it's created. And if you download key pair, you are going to give your consent, only then you will be able to launch the instance. Because if you do not download it, this is grayed out. You will not be able to do it.
Makes sense.
And one more thing, sometime it question us, so to answer that, we have an option like where your OS is getting booted, there only like there will be a file will be created, folder will be created, authorized -key. So from there, like you can create a snapshot of that volume and then attach it to another EC2 instance, and then from there you can like access that private key.
Do not worry.
Is
So
that,
we will
is
see
that the
that
way?
particular happening in practical way. Do not worry for that. But first of all, let us create this EC2 machine, because it's been really 2.5 hours and we are yet not able to create EC2 machine. Okay, so if someone is going to ask you that,
Yeah,
how long will you take to create EC2 machine? What will you say?
it's around 2.5 an hour.
Okay, so
Not really. Not really. Once you know it, it doesn't take much to actually spin a machine, EC2 machine.
okay, so let me create it again, because what happened, so while I was just explaining these options, so I selected that Ec2 unlimited option enabled, and that actually got failed because the particular region which I selected, that does not allow that option. See, like how long does it take?
No, I've encountered this situation recently, Lokendraji. So maybe the instance is actually in the process of being created.
No.
If you go.
Actually, I had to come back over here on this particular screen, because that has already shown that after creating the security group and other actions, so that got stuck. Maybe I don't know whether it is internet issue or like what, but it is taking more than expected time to get loaded. Okay, well, guys,
Right.
definitely now we know very well how to create EC2 machine. So, guys, I would like to seek your feedback now. What do you say? Like, do you have anything to say about this particular, any feedback for this particular session?
I would like to say that this is it's really a deep dive, and I'm one of the people who have been following you on the internet, and this is my first session that I've attended, and it's definitely a pleasure and an honor to listen to you explain this. I haven't seen anything like this on the internet, especially with your draw.io diagrams and the way you've explained. It's really clear. Thank you so much.
And even this is my favorite tool. So, okay, guys, I guess that is it for today. If you guys want that, I can create that EC2 machine. Otherwise, see, like I have already explained all the options. And tomorrow we are going to see the migration and then other activities. Right? So I would request.
Tomorrow will be the same time.
So, okay, guys, hope to see you tomorrow at the same time. Till the time, have a good time and God bless you all.
All right. Thank you so much.
No,
Thank you.
one thing.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask, that is something different from this session. So in auto scaling, suppose your master and this worker node is running, but in that sometime it happens like your master node is down, terminated, or something happened with that. So how the traffic is going to be served with those worker instances? Actually, this question was being asked in my interview question. So I wanted to have an answer on it.
Okay. So first of all, when we are talking about Kubernetes, so basically Kubernetes architecture does not, it's not supposed to be created in an auto-scaling mode, because that can create chaos. Moreover, we need to have a static infrastructure there. And aside to that, if you really want to have like scalability and flexibility within your infrastructure of Kubernetes, then what is actually required here is that you guys need to have a particular option available within Kubernetes itself, which is known as EKS. And the most best feature there is known as Fargate. So ideally, Fargate option should be used there rather than auto-scaling.
So sometimes like if we are talking about in Jenkins master slave architecture, so in that case also like your job is running
Then,
nodes
okay,
and your
okay.
suppose master node is down.
Okay, so let me tell you what if master is down, that in that particular case, your Jenkins slave cannot be converted into master, because only your Jenkins master has the particular UI where from you trigger the build. Well, not a problem. We can take that particular up in next session for sure.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you so very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a good
Thank
night.
you so much. Bye bye.